Bowser. I'm the General Manager for Queensland for Data3. And first of all, thank you all for coming along. We know this is a huge investment of your time, but we do believe we have the value that you're expecting here today. This is a Data3 event. We've been running JuiceIT for 5 years now. It started with the name. The name had an idea that if we gave you enough information, then you could squeeze the most out of your ICT investments. We had Duncan Armstrong here a few years ago, the Olympic swimmer, and he described the event as chasing that 1/100th of a second of performance that you need for the edge. So that's what today is all about. And we're going to do it through a different lens. You heard this, you saw the theme today. It's about the IT revolution, and it starts with you. There's a whole lot of change going on, from the enterprise through the network to the access device and to the way we're doing things. So is it a revolution or an evolution? Is it important? Does it matter? So hopefully we're going to answer some of those questions. And the way we're going to do that is, first of all, out in the trade hall, you'll see 27 vendors. There is no other event that has this many vendors in one location in one day just for you. So the objective of the day is to go out and say hello, or hola, or bonjour, or buongiorno, whatever it is, just to get a conversation started to chase that value that you're looking for. You can have a look up on the screen. These are the vendors that are out there. They're also the sponsors of the event. We couldn't do this day without them, obviously, and I'd like to make a special mention to HP. They're our platinum sponsor and a great supporter of Data3, and have been a great supporter of this event since it started. Our next keynote speaker will be familiar to all of you. He started with working life as a civil engineer, and he joined the company in 1982 before it became Data3 in 1984. He's the immediate past chairman for the AIIA. He's the inaugural ARL Commission chairman, and he's also our MD. Could you please welcome Mr. John Grant?
Well, good morning, everyone. Can we try it again? Okay, I'll do it again, no problem. Morning, everyone. How are we going? Good, thank you very much. This is the fourth time I've followed Stephen Bradbury. Talk about last man standing. Stephen, thank you very much for what you've given us this morning. The message that you've given us, fourth time I've heard it, remains as clear as a bell and leads in perfectly, I guess, to what I want to talk to you about too, which is clearly much more technology related. And our theme about the IT R.evolution, the revolution/evolution, that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about where we think we are as technologists right at this very minute. And I want to talk to you about what I think you might be able to do about the situation I think we find ourselves in. Before I do that though, and Stephen's comment about Data3, last man standing, this business has been in business now for 36 years. It's probably the oldest and most mature and most experienced and most well qualified IT business in Australia. We're very proud of that. And just to give you some of the sort of quick facts about the business for those of you who are not across it. So as I said, founded in 1977, ASX listed in 1997, which was a fantastic experience for the business. It was sort of where we got to. We sort of considered our options, both from a people point of view and an ownership point of view. But it was the maturing of the business, because in the listed environment, everything's out there. A bit like being an athlete. Every time Stephen stepped onto the track, it's all out there. You only get that chance, so everyone sees what you are. And that listing process has introduced into our business great transparency, great accountability. And we think we're better off, and we think our customers are better off for that fact. In 2012, in the last financial year, revenues of $811 million. That's money that you, our customers, spent with us, and I thank you very much for that. We've just finished our half year, $406 million of your money invested in your future with Data3. Thank you. Over 900 people around Australia, which just says that we have deep capability. We always had an objective to make sure that whatever we did, we do really, really well. And in order to do that, you need to have depth. 900 people around Australia gives us the opportunity to not only have the capacity to do stuff, but the capability deeply in every location. Nationally in 9 locations, and in fact, with data centre leasing space that we've now taken out in Brisbane and Sydney to provide our trusted cloud environment, we're up to 11 locations. Offices right around Australia, all the capital cities, including Canberra. Distribution and configuration centres down the east coast and the 2 data centres I mentioned. Again, that capacity to be able to do things. And this sounds like brochureware whenever I put this up, but this business started with 2 people, one of whom is here today, Terry Powell, one of our founders. Started with 2 people working out of a garage, understanding that the only way you can grow a business is make sure you're relevant to your customers, make sure you're a customer-centric business, make sure you're doing what they need you to do. That culture is at the centre of what we do. We have a very simple way of describing that. We believe we can bring together remarkable people, the best people in the industry, together with the technologies from our vendors, so we can combine our expertise to give outstanding solutions. And then by operating as a very efficient and effective business through a framework that allows us to connect the dots between what we do and what you do, we believe we can deliver you success. And if we believe we can deliver you success, we believe we will perform exceptionally well. So our customer central culture is embedded in the way we describe our business and the way we do our business every day. So JuiceIT, as Mike said, this is the 5th time for JuiceIT. It is an incredible event. We've had 684 customers registered for this event in Brisbane. This room is full, and we've not had this before. We moved here because we got great support from you to be part of JuiceIT. I thank you very much. And it's really interesting when you reflect on the progress and the sort of evolution, if you like, that JuiceIT's gone through those 5 years. Across these 3 centres this year, but originally also including Melbourne and Sydney. Over 4,500 customers across that period of time who've come to experience the things that you'll be able to experience today. And I guess what I want to try and do is cajole you to make sure that this is one of those days that Stephen talked about. JuiceIT has now become Australia's leading technology showcase. There is no question about that, and the support we get from the partners who are involved in this, who support us both financially and with their presence here today to talk to you about the things that they can do together with us for your business, is unique in this marketplace. We believe the value is extraordinary because of that, and we will continue to work very, very hard to make this a relevant show to you. And in reflecting about those 5 years, in 2009, as Michael alluded to in his introduction, we had the GFC just happen. So the theme around JuiceIT was extracting the most value that you possibly could out of your investment. When the economy deals you lemons, make lemonade. That was the theme. And it was very powerful at that time. We built an argument around cost. We built an argument around consolidation. We built an argument around conservation of resources. In fact, we built an argument around what we called the 5 Cs. And that was very compelling and saw us as a business able to work with our customers and move on through that very difficult period. In 2010, that was just after Obama was elected the first time, and Obama's campaign team had transformed the way that funding for elections and donations was actually managed. What they did, using technology, using the internet, was engaged with millions of Americans, each of whom donated $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, and he raised more money for his campaign that had ever been raised before because he thought about the challenge that he had and he thought about technology first. And the messaging of that juice was put technology at the forefront of your thinking when you're trying to solve business problems, because it is very likely you won't be able to solve the problems without technology. In 2011, the NBN was upon us. The investment of 43 or 37, depending upon which media release you read, or maybe 45, depending upon how they're going with their projects. But it was about the introduction of what they call the digital economy, a bit like, and I've always had a problem with this, a bit like we're over here in the economy, we're selling stuff, we're buying stuff, we're selling stuff, we're buying stuff, and over here there's this other thing called the digital economy. You're over here, you want to be part of this. Our proposition in Juice was the digital economy is the economy. The fact is that no matter whether you make the best widgets that God ever put breath into, whether you've got the best and the most capable and experts in your team, you actually won't be able to get to market in what is becoming an increasingly globally competitive market unless you think about digitally. about doing that digitally, about providing digital infrastructure, digital applications in order to be able to take your business forward. That was the messaging around that Juice. And then in 2012, we tried to bring it together a bit because this industry, and in fact, most people don't think about the relationship between things. We think about things discretely. So what we tried to bring together in 2012 was that technology was critical to creating innovation, which was critical to creating productivity. And we put this in this context, and I still think this is so true, and I would commend this to you as a way you might think about how you talk to people in your organisations, and I'll come back and talk about that a little bit later on. But what this says is, let me do a bit test. Who does not want to be prosperous? Okay, so it's pretty clear, right? We all want to be prosperous, whether it's as individuals, whether it's as organisations, or indeed whether it's as Australia, as our country. Because what we know is if we're prosperous, we get choices. And if we get choices, then we can actually invest where we think we can actually get a return. So the objective is to be prosperous. To be prosperous in business terms these days, we are operating in this digital economy, which is global. In order to be prosperous, we have to be competitive, globally competitive. And in order to be competitive, we have to be productive in everything we do. We have to have our people the most productive they can be. As a business, we have to be productive in the way that we go about our business. And in order to be productive, we have to really be thinking about how we do things differently. New products and services, new marketing methods, new ways we run our businesses, new processes. We have to be innovative. And feeding innovation is technology. It is almost impossible to make a difference in your businesses today without some sort of investment in technology. It is almost impossible to make your people and your thinking and implement things which are more innovative than the way you're doing them yesterday. So that's where technology plays such a critical part. The argument for the NBN is it's the digital infrastructure which allows all this to happen. Now, whether it's the NBN or the National Broadband Network Company or whether it's high-speed ubiquitous broadband, it doesn't matter. It's about the infrastructure to enable this to happen. And then you get the role for government. And for those of you in government, this is the most critical role. This is about the enabling legislation, the enabling policy, the enabling regulations and the enabling incentives that start this continuum to go. And of course, back-ending that are the skills. And my argument has always been, when we presented this in 2012, was this is a continuum. And if you work on one part of this as distinct from another part and without any sort of thought for the continuum, you're not going to get the outcomes that you want. So this was the argument in 2012, which I feel remains absolutely valid today. So here we are today, 2013. The IT revolution, it starts with you. Or as someone who's not quite sort of in the same language as we are, the IT revolution, it starts with you. Or is it the IT, R.evolution, IT starts with you? I reckon we as technologists, and by the way, 93% of you people in this room are enterprise technologists. Some of you are not. Some of you have different roles in your businesses, but 93% are enterprise technologists. And I will guarantee you read that as the IT revolution, it starts with you. Because that's the way we think. And I'll come back to that because I think that's something we need to start challenging. So let's just think about this for a minute. Revolution. So if we try to define the word revolution, where would we go these days? Dictionary.com, because we live in a digital economy. Revolution, a sudden, complete, or marked change, and often, as some of us might feel in our own businesses at the moment, with violence. So that's one end of the spectrum. That's what we're saying. Let's think about this as to whether it's revolution or is it evolution? Are we in a period of evolution? Gradual, peaceful, progressive change or development? Let's have a quick survey. You are all enterprise technologists responsible for delivering enterprise technology solutions and systems to your business on which your business relies. Who feels that they are in the middle of a revolution? Who feels that they're in the middle of an evolution? You know what? I got the same result in Adelaide. Most of us feel like we're in an evolution. So let me continue, because I want to come back and revisit your point of view on that. Who remembers that? Showing our age, come on, who remembers that? Come on, honest time. IBM PC 5150. How old do you reckon that is? 31 years ago. Can you believe that? Now, at the time the IBM 5150 PC was introduced, it was a revolution. What we've been used to at that time, and certainly our users have been used to, is companies with centralised computing facilities. Either mainframe-oriented, big deal, or minis, because minis were the business computer at that end, but they had dumb terminals at the end of them. And what our users worked with was what we delivered to them across the dumb terminals. And then all of a sudden along came the PC 5150. What happened? They went berserk. All of a sudden they were writing software. All of a sudden they were storing data on diskettes. All of a sudden that data was going all over the place. We lost control. But we got control back because we started to work with the business. We started to understand what they were trying to do with their PCs. We started to understand we could provide them with emulation that allowed them to use the applications that we would deliver with them in the same device. And we started to sort of tie it down. We started to tie it down with standard operating environments, with rules around backups, with operational rules, etc. And what that says is that, and there would be no one who would not say that the IBM PC 5150 was a revolution in computing. And what happened after that was we moved into a period of evolution, where having taken a step change, we then started to evolve again. So revolutionary evolution, I'm not going to ask you because you probably get it wrong. Revolution. Let me give you a proposition though as to whether we are in revolution or we are in evolution. I don't think it matters, provided things are under control. And I'd say that from an enterprise IT point of view. So our responsibilities are primarily to ensure that our business's computing environment works and is safe for our company. That's our primary responsibility. My further proposition is that that's your job as enterprise technologists to keep things under control. And so you must feel that you have things under control. And I've looked for an analogy around this. How could I sort of give you another point of view that might demonstrate what I mean by this situation that we're in? Because I'm sort of challenging your belief that you might be in an evolution here. Because I reckon enterprise IT is in a game of footy. And that will make sense to some of you. But I think we're in a game of footy. And in a game of footy, there are moments when it's a huge tussle, mostly a huge tussle. And there are moments when it's much less so and it's a bit of a huddle. So in looking for this analogy, I thought about this. So this is, who knows about State of Origin Rugby League? Okay, random samples. That is Game 2, 2012, ANZ Stadium. 85,000 people, 65,000 at least, all wearing blue hats. And New South Wales beats Queensland to make it 1-1 to take the decider to Suncorp Stadium last year. That was a huge tussle. The players feel like they're in the middle of a revolution. The people who are there know that they're in a revolution because some of them, wearing blue hats, think things are going to change. How mistaken they are. Game 3, Queensland. This is the post-game huddle. The best that Paul Gallen can do is that almost smile. While Cameron Smith, he's come out of the tussle of Game 3 and he's the winner. And sometimes, of course, there's been real moments of tussle. Who's that? Gordon Tallis and Terry Hill. A wonderful moment in sport, but representative of where I'm suggesting that we as enterprise IT folk are. I think we're in the middle of a footy game. And Abby, be really bold and change what I think was probably 70% of you who said that you're in an evolution. Right now, I don't think things are under control. And I think enterprise IT leadership has been taken away from you. And I know I'm bold when I say that, and I know a lot of you are going to say he doesn't know what he's talking about. But what's actually going on? I think over some period of time, inch by inch, the control that you had over your enterprise IT systems, the control you had over your user community, what they were doing with your enterprise data, what they were doing with your enterprise applications, inch by inch, my bold proposition is that you've lost control. So I think you're a bit like this, if you allow me to keep going with this analogy. In the middle of a set of factors that are occurring around you, which I would suggest to you lead me to conclude that you're in a bit of a revolution. Firstly, we have your company saying to you, we have to be successful, but it's a very tough market. Who's saying that? That's the reality of life today. And we have to do things differently, and we have to spend less, and we have to get more. And we've got to get ROI from every dollar of enterprise IT every dollar of enterprise IT investment that we make. Who's not under that pressure? That's a hard one to put your hand up for. Also, and this is my fundamental belief, that we are responsible for delivering our organisation's integrity. So we should have a justifiable preoccupation with the integrity of our systems. That's fundamentally where we should start. All these other things start to throw issues around that, and there's a sort of a view that we can compromise that. We can't. We can't afford to, and it's the wrong thing to do. We also have in this wonderful industry, and there's 17 others of us outside, who want to talk to you about our latest technology. You know, just think about what this industry has done, and I've been publicly quite critical of the way that we market in this industry. We market features, relational databases, client-server computing, all the things that you know, lately cloud, lately big data, all labels. But all of these are causing you to think about your technology investments and where you want to place them. And there are some very strategic decisions that many of you will be trying to make right now as to how you take forward your technology. So you have this on your plate while you have these other factors. As well as that, you have this eternal search for skills inside your business and outside with people like ourselves. But matching the skills to make sure that you can maintain the integrity of your systems and you can deal with the technologies and the technology decisions you need to make. And of course, we're people organisations, and you know more than any that the people in your team probably don't change very easily. So change management is the other thing we know we're in at the moment. We know we're in a period of change. And it should not be forgotten that we have stuffed up. Now, whether or not we've stuffed up with major projects or whether there's been other factors, at the end of the day, there's been too many IT projects where dollars have gone down the tube and our organisations have not got a return on their investment. And that is not good when you come to have conversations about what part we can play in the business if you haven't got that credibility of successful projects time after time after time. It'll be a SADA ringing. And last but not least, we have our users. And this to me is the most compelling part of this, because they have gone through an extraordinary change. And I want to show you a video which hopefully can make some sense of that. Could we run that first video, please?
Olá, boa tarde. Estaria interessado numa pequena demonstração?
Sim,
Sim.
poder dar.
Eu vou então chamar um colega. Só um minuto.
Posso ajudar?
Quer-me ajudar?
Então, explica lá.
Então, a primeira novidade do JuiceIT é a password. Depois temos os mosaicos dinâmicos que nos permitem personalizar a nossa página inicial. E se quisermos ter no Facebook.
O senhor é que faz a demonstração?
Eu é que faço a demonstração.
Que memória é que é preciso para correr este novo Windows?
Espera aí que eu vou chamar a minha colega que ela responde essa pergunta.
Boa tarde, disseram que precisavam de ajuda? Então, qual era a pergunta?
Okay, I make no apology for that being obviously about Microsoft Windows 8, but the key words are simple, easy, intuitive. And what I was talking about was where are your users at? And they're in the world of simple, easy, intuitive. Whether it be that interface or whether it be the other interfaces, we know that's their world. And this world is your world, by the way. This is what you do on your devices. How do these systems look like in terms of your enterprise IT systems? You think you're in control. Consumerisation. My argument is that your employee is driving IT innovation and taking control because of the experience they're having and because of the capabilities that that experience delivers. And I'm not saying they're creating the products, but they're doing what the products do best. They're applying them to be innovative about the way that they do things. So my argument is that when I run around the pressure you're under from your business to get a return, to be successful, with the responsibility you've got around system integrity, with all the technology choices and right at this very point in time, some of the strategic decisions you need to make, your battle to keep the skills on board, to manage the change in your organisation, and to make sure that you actually do get the outcome through projects that you target, coupled with this enormous revolution that has gone on in our workplace, I argue that you may not be as under control as you think. But there's a challenge there, which I think we can all step up to, in that I think we can get back control. And I think there are a number of things that we can do, and I'd like to run through you and suggest to you some of the things that you might consider, even if you feel under control, to make yourself more under control, to make your enterprise IT more under control. Firstly, we need to think about doing this as a long-term play. This is an inch-by-inch scenario. We lost this ground, is my argument, inch by inch over some period of time. Yes, through a revolution in the consumer land, but inch by inch before and after that. And I want to think that you could be back where you should be, which is at the successful centre of a business, of a team, just like Cameron Smith here, captain of the Queensland State of Origin team, after his team's seventh victory. The things that I think you can do in order to achieve this is, firstly, understand and take time to learn what your company is really pursuing. Because we get embedded as technologists so much in the technology, sometimes we lose sight of the big schema. And I think that's what Stephen was saying to us in his address. He was talking about the big schema. And the big schema is the companies you work for, the objectives that they have, the imperatives on them, and how you can help that. Secondly, I think the conversation I had with you before around the continuum to prosperity makes sense and can make sense in your organisation. And if you are prepared to take it on as an enterprise IT technologist, they won't expect it, and you will add real value because you will start them thinking outside the frame of their business units, which is where most people spend their day. Thirdly, I think we need to understand our language. This is my point at the start about the IT revolution or the IT revolution. What seems logical and common sense to us may not be so, and I can tell you will not be so to many, many people who work in our businesses who have greater authority than we have. We need to think about the language that we use. We need to talk in terms that they will understand. We have a responsibility to convert what we think is a key from a technology point of view through a language that makes sense to them. We need to understand this consumerisation. We need to understand how valuable the experiences are that each of us has in our own personal devices and not divorce that from the enterprise experience and the enterprise opportunity. And that is a tough one because right now the technologies are such that it's fragmented our enterprise IT environment. And I think there are ways across this, and this is my next suggestion is something that I would argue should absolutely consider. And it's I'm promoting one of our partners' products here for the simple reason that I think this has an opportunity that has not existed before and does not exist in any alternative solution. Let me tell you about my personal experience. This is my HTC 8S Windows 8 phone. Let me tell you my history of travelling with these devices. The first phone I had was a BlackBerry, and I loved it. And the reason I loved it is because it did what I wanted to do as an operator in a business reliably, consistently, and in a totally non-risk environment. It delivered me my email, my calendar, all the basics that you needed to operate with. Unfortunately, BlackBerry couldn't move from that position. But I was a BlackBerry bigot. And when the Apple revolution came, when Steve Jobs redefined the phone, I pushed back on that until I had this tsunami of pressure inside the business and a great deal from Telstra to move over to Windows iPhone, which we did as a whole organisation, and I can tell you it was the best thing we ever did. Because what it started to do was to allow people to do the things that they're doing in your organisation today, which is to run their lives and do some of their business stuff. But if you are a user of the iPhone or in fact the Android phone, you know the limitations in your world from an enterprise point of view. So then Microsoft talked about Windows 8, and when I looked at Windows 8, I thought this may be the opportunity to restore enterprise technology to where it needs to be for the sake of our enterprises. So I'm now a Windows Phone user, and I'm an absolute bigot. So you get no question marks from me about which way I stand, right? But let me tell you about my experience, and I'll tell you why I am that way. So I've come out from the iPhone, and I can tell you that the iPhone experience I had from a personal point of view, all the apps that I used, the way that the application worked, the intuitive interface, etc., is as good or if not better on this. So I've sort of got locked down my personal environment, but my enterprise environment, multiple emails open at the same time, multiple attachments to emails open at the same time, cut from one attachment or copy from one attachment into another at the same time, flick between sessions so you can do that. Be sent a Word document, open the document, edit the document, save it, send it back. Be sent a spreadsheet, freeze panes. Make calculations, save it, send it back. Link, connecting inside your organisation using tools which go all the way from video through to voice through to data. integrated. My phone here, my tablet, I don't have one, my PC, and I'll tell you why I don't need one, my PC, open a document here, save it, open the document here, same document, come into the document exactly the same place. That to me is enterprise technology. And what I see in this is I see the bridge from we who are responsible for enterprise technology back into consumer land, and I can tell you there is no bridge coming the other way as an alternative. So I'm now a bigot, and the reason I say Windows 8 is because I just think it has an opportunity to be one of the tool sets, and I would recommend you consider it, to bring enterprise IT back under control without moving away from that experience you need to give your consumer at the other end. That's a big pitch, and I make no apologies for that because I think it's that important, because I think the issues we face are that important. And last but not least, JuiceIT. Today is a great opportunity for you to explore with the people in our business and the people from our partners the alternatives that you may have to apply inside your own organisations. So I think if you can do these things, if you take these on board, even if you feel you're not out of control and you're in the middle of an evolution rather than a revolution, that's fine. I think you'll do better for it. But those of you who feel, A, before we started you might be in a bit of a revolution, or now maybe you feel you might be in a bit of a revolution as well, then these 5 things may help you. Thank you very much for letting me talk to you about those. I know it's quite indulgent, but I think they're very important.